Hello, good afternoon. I'm going to do a couple of short lessons with you. We're going to read some breaking news stories from News2You. Okay, so the first one we're going to read this story from News2You about a huge iceberg. Okay, and this story is from May 21st, which is a few days ago, last week actually. So it's a little bit of an older news story, but I'm picking it also because it kind of goes along with our story that we read last week about the Titanic. Okay, so let's read about the huge iceberg.
World News, May 21st, 2021. Huge iceberg. A huge iceberg has broken off of Antarctica. Antarctica is a continent. It is the coldest continent on Earth. Most of Antarctica is ice. Sometimes the ice cracks and breaks off.
Okay, so there was a huge iceberg that has broken off of Antarctica. And Antarctica is a continent, which is a big piece of land. Like we live on the continent of North America. Antarctica is it north or south of us? I think it is south, Antarctica. Yeah, it is the continent further south, but it is very cold there. It's mostly ice. Okay, it's the coldest continent on Earth because it's by the South Pole. Okay, and it says sometimes the ice cracks and breaks off. But if you remember, the Titanic that we read about last week hit an iceberg, and that's why it sank. Okay, so let's continue reading.
The iceberg is the biggest iceberg to break off of Antarctica. The iceberg is more than 100 miles long. It is 4 times bigger than New York City, New York. The iceberg is floating in the sea now. Scientists are watching the iceberg.
Wow, that is a very big iceberg. It's the biggest iceberg to break off of Antarctica, maybe ever. It says it's more than 100 miles long, which is pretty long. 100 miles, I would say, what would be comparable? Maybe from here to Bakersfield? I'm not quite sure, but it's a long ways. It's 4 times bigger than New York City, New York. So that's really big. That's a big iceberg. Okay, and here's our review page, but we're not going to answer the questions yet.
Review page 1. What broke off of Antarctica? Iceberg, mountain, forest. 2. Who are watching the iceberg? Scientists, cashiers, dancers. 3. What is Antarctica? Country, continent, city.
Okay, so we're going to read again. We're going to read our slides about the huge iceberg. Okay, so here's iceberg. That's a picture of an iceberg. It's just a very large piece of ice above the water. Okay, so some icebergs are so big that people can walk on them, maybe even live on them. Well, it would be a little too cold. But animals that are used to the cold weather do live on icebergs sometimes, like polar bears. Okay, so May 21st, 2021, in Antarctica, that's where the story takes place. It is a huge iceberg. It says, what? A huge iceberg. Where? Antarctica. When? May 21st, 2021. Okay, so a huge iceberg has broken off of Antarctica. Antarctica is a continent. And remember, there are 7 continents in the world: North America, South America, Africa, Australia, Europe, Asia, and Antarctica. Okay, so those are 7. It's one of the 7 continents. Okay, it is the coldest continent on Earth. So it is very far south. Okay, the southern, in the South Pole, near the South Pole. Let me find a map and I'll show you. Okay, sorry about that. Here's a very good picture of the world, the continents of the world. This is the world atlas. So here's North America. That's where we are. South America, Africa, Europe, Asia. Middle East is not really a continent. That's part of it is in Europe and part of it is in Asia. Okay, and then Australia. and Antarctica. So Antarctica is the seventh continent and it's very cold. And the South Pole is here and the North Pole is here. Okay, so it's very cold. This is Antarctica right here. Okay, and here's a picture of it from the bottom of the globe. See, there's the South Pole. Okay, so it's very cold. Okay, the closer you get to the equator, which is the middle of the globe, the center, it's warmer. So these countries are very, very warm or hot. South America, Africa, they get very hot. Asia, parts of Asia, Australia. But the further away you go, north or south, it gets colder. Okay, so back to our story. Okay, it's the coldest continent on Earth. Most of Antarctica is ice, and sometimes the ice cracks and breaks off. Okay, and this iceberg is the biggest iceberg to break off of Antarctica. Let's look at our picture so we can picture it again. So Antarctica is pretty big. But this is, let's see, how big was it? It was more than 100 miles long and 4 times bigger than the city of New York City. And let's watch a short video about the iceberg.
A giant slab of ice recently sheared off of Antarctica, and scientists are calling it the largest iceberg in the world. Images of the berg, known as A76, were captured by a satellite from the European Space Agency. The big berg is over 1,600 square miles. That's bigger than the state of Rhode Island or the Spanish island of Majorca. A76 is now floating in the Weddell Sea off of Antarctica. It joins the former largest iceberg in the world called A23A, which is also found in the Weddell. Scientists say the formation of A76 is part of a cyclical process and that it's not the result of climate change. It's also expected that A76 will break into 2 or 3 smaller pieces. A glacier scientist from the University of Colorado told Reuters that the breaking away of A76 does not raise ocean levels because the ice was already floating in the sea before carving off from the coast. However, other ice shelves further from the South Pole have disintegrated rapidly in recent years, a phenomenon that climate scientists say is a result of climate change. This is Inside Edition Digital.
Okay, that's a little bit more about the iceberg. Okay, so number 1, what broke off of Antarctica? The iceberg, the mountain, or the forest? Okay, and I'll let you answer that. In fact, let me do it right now before I forget. Let me add a circle so you can circle the question. Okay. Make it transparent so you can see through it. Okay, so what broke off of Antarctica? An iceberg, a mountain, or a forest? Okay. Who are watching the iceberg? Scientists, cashiers, or dancers? And move your circle around to answer the question. And 3, what is Antarctica? What is Antarctica? A country, a continent, or a city? Is it a city? Is it a continent or a country? Okay. And here's more about Antarctica, an iceberg. So there's what is an iceberg? A song about ice and Antarctica facts. Okay. So don't really have much time to watch the videos now, but I will post this for you so you can watch them. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end this lesson so I can do my next lesson, but I will post the slides so you can answer the questions and watch the videos. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye.